G'day everyone. No, I'm not filming in a mirror. We're going to look at fixing a camera today. This is the Nikon Coolpix something model. Let's have a look underneath there. L330 model, and it's got a problem which is quite common, I believe, with this model. It's very new. In fact, it is new. It's I don't know if it was returned as faulty or what have you, but for all intents and purposes, it's brand new. And the lens doesn't come out. There's a lot of people online saying you just need to give it a really hard tap, bang it on a desk or so on, and it should come out. But what happens when you turn it on is we get an error message. It says turn the camera off and remove the lens cap. So it thinks the lens cap's still on because the lens hasn't come out as it's supposed to do, but it's likely not coming out for other reasons, like she's all jammed up or the motor's not working as it should. So we shall tear it apart and hopefully find out why it's doing it. Going to start with a couple of screws on the bottom. Hopefully they've used the same length screws throughout. It would make life nice and easy. There's no real sign of damage on the front of the ring of the lens that I can see that would indicate it was dropped or forced back into itself. It's common for people to drop cameras straight onto the lens and derail the little spiral track that the mechanism rides around in, which gives the in and out movement. There's a whole bunch of screws under here as well. I've not seen that in a camera before. I'm wondering if I should take them off now or if they're part of an internal I'll just take them off now. Why not? They're there for a reason. They're externally accessible for a reason. I fixed one camera before. I was able to glue the guides back onto the side of the lens mechanism. They're only plastic, but the glue actually held pretty well, as long as it doesn't bind up. Now the case is going to split and we're going to get the back half come off and separate to the front half. But they often hide screws in funny places, like down in there. I can see a couple, but whether I have to get them off right now or not, I don't know. I'll say no for now. Oh, a couple more on the other side. I'm going to just try and pry that apart there. It's slowly coming apart. I'm wondering if I have to pop this plastic section off here. Maybe something retaining underneath. Where is my spudger? leverage. No. Some cracking noises. It's held along the top edge there. I'd like to try with a fingernail first, see if I can pry it apart without, you don't want to bend up the plastic housing. I wonder if there is something underneath there. Can of worms these are. Okay, what I've done is just along the top edge here, just inserted the spudger and just pried a little each way, and there's a couple of clips in there that let go, and now the whole back section appears to be coming free. I think there'll be no. There we go. And there's nothing attached there. I'll get the screen off, and they usually sit in a bracket that has a couple of clips that just friction fit the screen. So I'll just lift under one corner. There you go, and she pops out like that. There'll be a flat flex under there that we can release and remove. That gives us access to screw here, screw there, another screw over here. There's one hiding up in the top here, one there, and that should release the guts of it from the front housing. Should. You never know with these things. Now, as this camera does have a flashlight, there is a capacitor in there that stores rather high voltage, and I was having a bit of a look hoping I might be able to see that and test it, but I couldn't immediately identify where it was. However, for future reference, here we have a surface mount capacitor which appears to be right across the main flash capacitor, because I just felt it. It didn't hurt, it was just a small tingle when I put my finger across there, but just so you can all know, check the voltage across this capacitor. At the moment this is sitting at about 220 volts, so really check that and discharge that through an appropriate resistor before continuing. Okay, so with a little bit of a gentle pull, it's all coming out here. It's all moving out from the front section, and then this just kind of let go, and that has a bit of a bracket that sits down the side behind that screw hole there, so that just lifts off, and then we can see there's a screw hiding under there, which should, if that's going to be, no, it looks like the whole thing might still come away from that frame. So if we keep gently moving, what if we have to, oh, there we go. Okay, it's actually attached here, so the wires are going up in there. You can actually see when I move the lid, a couple of those wires move, so we may just have to unsolder the wires at that point and leave the flashlight on board. The wires markings on the board here is WBLGYPF, P, which I presume means white, blue, grey and pink, but this other wire here is also white, not grey, so I've actually got a pen and just put a little mark on it so I know where that goes in case it gets mixed up. Also, we have the little red and black wire at this end, appears to go off into a microphone up in the top here. That's had to come off as well. Now I think it's going to fall out. If we give it a little wiggle, and the front is sliding away from, there we go. Nothing else seems to be holding it on. Sometimes you have to lift this edge to get over the buttons. Oh, the battery cover's shut. I think that might be holding us up. Oh, I can hear something rattle when I do that. Oh, that's not good. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there's a little clear insert just fell out. We'll be able to find where that goes. Now what's holding it? Something. Oh, there we are. As I said, lift this edge, and out comes the guts of it. Battery flap wasn't the problem. That little clear piece, I think, probably went there, right there. And oh yeah, that just goes in there. There's a little indent where these pieces sticking out. You can see where it sits. Now we can see our high voltage cap is stashed over this side. I kind of remember other cameras having it stashed over in the similar area to the battery compartment as well. And you've got the red and black wires running over to here, so we can see exactly which connections now you should discharge, and it's the thicker red and black wires marked BC plus and BKC minus. C for capacitor, I suppose. So if you're opening one of these, put your discharge resistor across those two, not across here. Even though I felt it across here, that's not a direct path. It looks like it goes through the switching FET. So that should still be okay. There was probably a reversed bias diode in there. Protection diode that I may have been discharging through. Still, there's no screws around the front section, so in order to get the lens mechanism apart, I'm going to have to take the whole back panel off, which is almost free. So that means removing the last of the wires on the top there, although I might be able to leave that on. However, no, I won't. This board here is soldered directly on, so that's going to have to come off with the backboard, which means it's all going to have to come out this way. I can't leave those wires on and just flip it up out the way. So, and there's a couple of flexes down here. This one's that'll probably be the motor drive, and the larger one will be the imaging sensor. There's another flex up the top there. Yeah, okay, just guessing. Okay, well, I would thought this would come off, but it's attached to the battery terminals underneath, yeah, so it's got this row of soldered joints between the boards, and over here there's another row. And I think instead of fighting with the battery terminals that are going to be pressed into the plastic and whatnot, I mean, I could desolder them here as well. But then, you know, I could lift it off, but there's that in the way. Yeah, I think I'll have to desolder that. To do that, I think it might just be easier just to put some solder wick across here and desolder the whole lot. It's not going to take much to reattach them afterward. Ooh. Done. And now this board just falls away. We've got the flex at the top. I've removed the two at the bottom. And if I get rid of my vise, can pop that off, and there she blows. On the back side, not a whole lot going on. Some voltage regulation, backup battery, memory for the clock and so on, I'd imagine, and yeah, all the main stuff happens on the top side. And here's what we're after. So a CCD image sensor on the back. We've got a motor there, possibly another one under there, or at least part of the gear system for that motor. They're a DC motor, so that's easy. We'll be able to apply some voltage to that and see if the mechanism moves. It's not a stepper motor, so quite easy to drive. But I think we'll get, there's a big screw there, there, and those three screws I think will release the lens assembly. We'll get that off the front housing. It'll be a bit easier to work with. Annoyingly, this won't come up through the back without having to remove the red and pink wires from their retainers. Now with those out the way, the lens mechanism just comes straight up and out of the front housing. And it looks like there'll definitely be a motor buried in there somewhere for focus control, but this one is probably our main drive motor. It'll have a worm gear up here with another gear around here that's running the larger outer toothed ring on the circumference of the lens mechanism, and that rotates, and because of pins, there's a guide tracks that come up like this, and as it rotates, the pins force the mechanism to come out as the pins follow the track. But we'll start with that. Maybe we apply a little bit of voltage on there and see if it pops out or not. Or actually, probably a safer bet would be to disassemble the gear mechanism and see if we can rotate it by hand, and that way we're not stressing any teeth, and we don't risk snapping plastic gears. Yeah, okay, we'll take the motor out of the equation, free up the gears, and see if the mechanism will move freely. So 1, 2, 3 long screws up there, and undoubtedly a plastic clip somewhere. We've got some black tape. They use a bit of black tape around these to obviously stop light getting in, and then that should pop off. Oh, she's coming off already. It's separating there. I'll just pull that black tape off, then I know what I'm working with, and I'm not fighting anything. Because the last thing we want to do is tug on something and then have something let go, and then have gears going all over the place. Oh, here we go. So that's just let go. I can definitely feel a spring under there. What have we got? No spring. I think it might just be the flat flex attached to the side of it, giving it some tension. So if I flip that up out the way, Here we have the motor. As I said, we've got a worm gear drive off the motor, and that drives a cog, which drives another cog, which drives a bigger cog, and that there will be driving our ring gear and what we need to play with. Now that's just all going to pop out like that. Oh yeah, there is a bit of a spring retainer in there. Obviously either a damping device to make for smooth rotation, or a end of motion tension grabber just to avoid the gear stripping. That felt like it was turning something. If I pop that off again, you can see a little spring-like device there, like a coil of unless that's actually keyed into the back of the gear. So that maybe that just, okay, so that's just the way it rotates everything. That's how it's keyed on there. Alright, so if I rotate this, oh hello, out comes our gear lens. That's the usual motion range. It comes out a bit, goes in a bit, it comes out a bit more. Then it reaches the end of its limit and there's a stop. Okay, so we'll wind that back in. That's not feeling any resistance there. It's feeling pretty smooth. So we may have either a motor drive issue, or maybe the motor's seized. It's hard to know. But for whatever reason it thinks that the lens is being blocked because it's not extending when it's supposed to. So now what we'll do, let's see if we can rotate the motor. That did feel a little bound up just then. When I wiggled it, it kind of popped into place. Just grab my little tweezers and pop that off. Have a look at that. Oh, I'll drop it all over the bench. Shouldn't really work under the camera, should I? Through the camera's viewfinder. So that looks okay, as it should for a new gear. It's not no badly worn teeth. And as for the motor, will it spin? Ah yes, motor is spinning freely. Not a problem with that. And it does have a little set of fins just on the very bottom. You can see them rotating past. Now that's going to be an optical, there's an optical gate down the bottom, so that's how it knows either how many revolutions it's done, or whether it's spinning at all, or how fast it's spinning. And when I moved that gear, it did sort of click, like the motor had become jammed up trying to rotate, and it was jammed up. And now it's popped back into place and it's okay. So I might have to have a closer look in there and make sure that there's not something funny with the plastic housing it's causing it to jam up on. So I've soldered a couple of wires to the back of the motor, and I used 3 volts off the power supply, and we'll see. You want to be very careful. You just want to tap it on there until you know what direction the lens is moving, so you don't overload it. because yeah, no real way of knowing what way is what polarity is what, but we'll give it a shot. Oh, see it stick out a bit? Must be going the right way. Well, that looks pretty good to me. We'll reverse the polarity. Yeah, nothing wrong with that, is there? Try it once more. Wind her back in. Nice. Alright, we better get the main board on it and see if it's actually going to power itself, or if there's a problem on the board. But I have a feeling, just by the way that gear clicked, that it was actually under a lot of strain and somehow the mechanism got overloaded. So yeah, I think she'll be alright. Okay, I've reattached everything except the charge capacitor because I don't want that to charge up at the moment if we're just testing things. So we need to put some batteries in, and if I'm lucky it'll tell me what way they go. Here we go. Stickers on the inside. Oh, falling out the hole on the side. Just did that one right. Yep, cool. Okay. That one wants to fall out the side, so keep an eye on him. Now I haven't got the screen on, but I don't care because it won't know that it's not attached, I don't think, and for all we need is for it to turn on and eject the lens. So here we go. Ah, look at that! And off. Right, let's get the rest of it back together. Right, batteries are in. That looks a bit funky. I have to give that a clean. Let's turn it on and see what happens, eh? Ah, huzzah! What does the screen say? Ah, instant. Instant! Look at that. Here we go. I wonder if I can take a photo. I wonder what mode I'm even in. Looks like timer. Zoom. Zoom. Zoom works. That's good. Does focus work? There we go. That works. Oh, I might have been in digital zoom there. Click. There goes the picture. Alright, let's see if we can review picture. Play. Oh, yep. Cool. Saved. Lovely. Delete. Current image. Yes. Cool. What a nice camera. Here we go. End result. The gear mechanism had got jammed up. As I said, once I moved the cog, the worm gear on the motor sprung down into place. Not sure why that had happened. Maybe it had been forced against itself. Who knows? Maybe it's just a bit sloppy inside the gearbox. But I guess if you're careful with it, there's every chance this will go for a long, long time. In order to free that up, hitting it could work. Really depends what way the motor's trying to turn when you hit it, and given it's already bound up and it probably happened while trying to eject, then it's probably going to take a hell of a lot of force to release it. Yeah, a bit hit and miss, but certainly nothing damaged inside, and yeah, I think it'll work fine. Assembly is the reverse of disassembly. It all went back together really well, no spare screws. So hopefully that's all that's wrong with your one. Thanks for watching.